Yeah, so today's topic's really just going to be taking people through the day one syllabus of everything that we've put together, and really just the application of all of the different technologies from a course management standpoint. So yeah,
and there's so much in it. Like I think this is probably the better way to do it, because we can do a series and just go through each day. Because even today, we're just going to go through one module in the first day. We'll give people the overview of what that day looks like. But yeah, there's so much in every piece of it. So that will take up the whole session today. I think we're going to talk about course management and scoring.
And the funny thing, Jake, the pro that we've got coming in from Dubai to meet us in 3 weeks.
Yep, 3 weeks.
Was emphasizing the fact that he thinks that people can shave like 5 or 6 shots off just with course management without any swing mechanics. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's obviously why we've put it day one. Yeah, because we do think that the quicker people can wrap their head around that, like we understand from a mastermind and from a product standpoint, we're selling a reduction in shots. Mm-hmm. So we have to go straight to the technology that we think governs the most change, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his presentation that we're going to go through today, titled Scratch Scoring, the subtitle is The Art of Dropping Your Scores Before Even Hitting a Golf Ball. And this is really all the stuff that amateurs should be learning as well, across course management, risk, mental game, physical, fitness, all that kind of thing. So we'll go through it all today.
Yeah, feel free to get started, and then we can overlay that with how retarded we both were last week.
Yeah, we can tell some of our stories from last week. It is funny though, like the more there is that element of golf when you start to make changes to your game, and it could definitely go down before it comes back up. Like in anything, right? You're trying to implement new ideas or new strategies, and you're learning and making mistakes, and then but we'll get into that as well. So what I was going to do is just recap on the pillars of the program, so that the macro side, just for new listeners, or just to recap what the syllabus itself looks like. Then we'll go through day one, the structure of day one, and then we're just going to dive into one module, which is the course management scoring piece. So just quickly, we talked about this before, but the 3 pillars or the foundation of this program is the proven pathway to follow, which is that clearly defined pathway. The proven piece is that we need to prove it and follow it and get players going through that proven pathway process and coming out the other end with exceptional results. That's kind of our goal. And that's, progress tracking, performance measurement, data driven, all of it, and then the supporting systems that allow us to do all of that. And the question I'm trying to answer there, or we're trying to answer there, is like, where am I as a player? Where am I trying to get to? And how do I track my progress and measure my performance to get there? And one thing's really important, as we know, setting up any business is, are you asking the right questions? So that's kind of how I frame that pillar. The second pillar is the proven fundamentals, technicals, and knowledge. And we're going to go into the knowledge side today a lot, because that's all about the course management, the risk side, the mental game side. And that's actually the boot camp is going to kick off with a 2 to 3 hour session in a conference room with the whole group, talking about all of these principles, trying to understand where they're at, what their knowledge gaps are, and educate them from a pro's perspective about how he looks at all this stuff. So this is Jake's presentation that we're going to go through today. And the third pillar is proven results-driven systems backed by data. And how do we do that? What defines a system? I thought that's quite important, which is a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done. So an organized scheme or method. And I think that's one of the big values that we're adding here, is taking all this huge amount of information and distilling it down into systems that people can follow to accelerate their learning.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the three principles.
And that's kind of from a software development standpoint and an entrepreneurial standpoint, that's what anybody's doing with a product anyway. They're taking all the technology, and you're trying to find the perfect balance point between complexity and good customer experience, aren't you?
Yeah.
And trying to keep it as lean as possible, and like clarity sells more than anything. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is like taking into account what Jake says, finding other technologies, and then finding if there's a simple digestible version of it that we can apply to our broad range of IP.
Yeah.
To get people outcomes, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of this is obviously centered back at the customer. All these questions that we're asking is, how do we create that value for the customer? And in that, we're doing it through their player profile, their player development plan. We want to track them against the pathway. Where are they at? Where do we feel they should be at this point in time? How do we track and measure them through that process? And then providing the support and accountability like you would in any program to give them the better chances or the best chances of success, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the syllabus itself, just in terms of the structure for everybody listening, once you would sign up, there's a whole pre-program piece. We want to get you moving as quickly as possible. We need all your data and information so we can start building a profile around you before you come. Ideally, we want to start giving you some exercises, maybe some study guides, with the ideal that you can come in and hit the ground running, and then that we have a really good view of who you are as a player when you're coming in, and we can adapt the program to you as an individual before you even arrived, right? That would be the ideal for us.
What I know we were talking about, and you've already done your behind the swing shot and sent it off to Jake.
No, I got it wrong as well. Yeah. And this is a good point, because taking behind the taking shots of your golf swing, Jake was very clear. You need to take it from the same place every time, because otherwise on the video it can look like maybe you're coming to the outside. It messes up the viewpoint. So the ideal viewpoint is the center of the camera, whether you're landscape or portrait, on your toe line.
Yeah.
So toe line centered to the middle of the camera, and the camera has to be at shoulder height.
Yeah.
So this is, obviously a technical sport. We're getting it's technical as well.
And then how far back? Does it matter how far back?
He didn't mention how far back, so I don't think it matters. But I think enough, obviously, to see the backswing.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And then he wanted rear and front side. So I'm gonna have to reshoot mine, and you're gonna do yours.
Did he say what else, like other things, like would be beneficial? Like obviously to hit the ground running, what kind of other stats do you think?
Yeah, well, we want to see swing videos from the players. Obviously, we want the data on their however many past rounds they have. Ideally, they have 10 or 20. There's a lot that he can distinguish from their rounds, and just looking at the scorecards. So we want them to take pictures of the scorecards, or take shots of the app, or screenshots of the app if they're scoring within the app. If they're collecting other data, we want to see that as well. So he can distinguish a lot just from looking at a scorecard, he was saying. So that's good. We have the video analysis, all the scorecard data. And then there's a whole player survey that we've devised as well. Short enough that it's not too much of an overhead for somebody to fill it out, but long enough that it's giving us a good insight into where their potential gaps are, or limitations are, where their misses are, what they think they're good at, what they don't think they're good at, and all of that will go straight into their player profile. That he'll be studying every player before they turn up for the event, understanding them and having an idea in his head already of okay, let's see how they are and what they know when they arrive. And then, because one of the biggest challenges we have is the foundation of the boot camp is one thing, then making it personalized and applicable to wherever each player is in their game.
Yeah,
that's the bit that we need to make the kind of the crossover. So we're doing all of that to ensure that we have that best view before they arrive, and then we'll work with them for 7 days. And that's a lot of time to work with somebody and really understand them. Yeah. And it's not just on the practice round. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about today is their knowledge, right? So we'll sit them in a classroom, and it'll be a very interactive session, and it's a discovery session as well, because we want to know, what they don't know, so that we can, again, provide the most value and fill in all those blanks on a knowledge side. We want to see how they train and practice. So there's assessment around all of that. And then most importantly, we want to be out on the course with them and see how that differs, because we've all been at the range, thinking we're smoking balls and going out the next day for our round with high expectations, and then suddenly you just fall apart on the first hole, the second hole, or whatever, right? So we've all been there. So you don't really get to see a player, I don't think, until they're on the course. It was Jake's perspective.
Yep.
And he wants to spend a lot of time there assessing and analyzing players and just seeing what happens, right? And a lot of that is mental stuff we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Like, are they are they emotionally and mentally prepared to head out on the course with all the history of their golf game being carried in a bag behind them, and what happens in all those circumstances. So we want to see that, and all of that will help us to build that picture of that player. And the outcome of all of that is we develop their personal development plan that they will go away and use in training, practice, and on the course itself.
Got it. I'm hoping, like, we obviously talked about one of the big economical bottlenecks from a business standpoint being how many Jakes do we need out on the course?
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's something in this. It might be the case that, like, him following a group around for 2 or 3 holes might be enough for him to notice very obvious things around people's operating system when they're out there.
Yeah.
He might not need to see 18 holes.
We talked about it, actually. Yeah. And he said it's enough. Yeah. Like, I can, at his level, he sees everything.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know everything, but he knows a lot. So he can see it in a short period of time. Because I said to him exactly the same question. If we have, 5 4 balls, how long do you need with each one of them to really understand the player? And he's like, it's pretty quick. Like, I can hang out with them for 3 holes and I'll get a good view of that player, take notes, feed that into their player profile, and then devise the exercise or the activities that they need to work on. Another good part of this, and the reason that we're starting with the course management and the scoring piece, which is a lot of mental stuff, is we want to see them taking that out onto the course as well. And in those training and assessment rounds, maybe 1 or 2 of them, the focus won't be on scoring. It will be on other elements and other factors like good decision making, good risk management, where don't worry about the score. Let's just focus on making good choices, understanding lies properly, making sure your setup routine is solid. So as we continue through the rounds, and that's the whole reason we're doing, lots of rounds. One is to play these incredible courses, which everybody coming in will want to do. But we want to teach them and then take them out into the real world circumstance where they can practice these things. And then Jake's going to want to be there as well, talking through their process, hearing what's going on in their head, what's their considerations, and filling in the gaps for them. So it's all optimization.
That seems to be what I think will be the fun part every day. Is it's like getting a new 2-iron, and then we're like, I want to go test this thing. Yeah. Every day we're going to give people new mind equipment and physical equipment that's like, oh man, imagine what impact this has. That's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I think that's going to be incredible. And that's the way the program's designed. Essentially train in the mornings, take it out on the course in the afternoon. And you say train, people think standing on the range, swinging a golf club, but there's so much more to it than that we want to give to them. And then we have the challenges of how do we help them to retain that information and make sure that when they're out there and they're under pressure or their emotions kick in, that they suddenly don't go, like we all can, blank mind off the tee. Oh, I'm just going to smash driver, slice it, and you're out of bounds on the right. What am I thinking about?
Yeah. So do you want to, like, we can go through like all the, is warm up day one?
Warm up. Well, on day one we're going to go. Well, let's go through day one because that's a good place to start, just in terms of the structure. So I'll go through the overall structure, and then we're going to dive into the first module. So we'll probably start around 7 a.m. and we'll do welcomes and Q&As. We just want to get to know all the players, give them an overview of the program, what to expect, answer any questions, all that kind of stuff. That'll be in a conference room at the hotel. We'll be there all morning. And then the first module block of time is 2 to 3 hours, and that's on course management and scoring. And that's the presentation that we're going to go through today and talk about all those elements that go into that.
Yep.
Not all of them because there's a lot, but we'll talk through the main ones, and we're still developing it as well. Once we finish that session, we'll obviously take a break, and then we're going to head to the training facility, and we're going to do some testing with the players. So we want to do initial testing on every part of their game. So what we were just talking about, we need to see how they swing everything from a wedge to a driver all the way through and putting. And then we talked about the scratch mat, the player swing mat before, which is Jake's concept. And he's busy working on these at the moment. And the idea of the scratch mat is that it gives you the perfect setup for an iron, for a driver, and also for your putter. And what it does is if you practice on that mat over time, it builds in that muscle memory so that at any point when you set up to the ball, an iron or a driver or a putter, you're in your default position. And what I'm learning from a lot of this is like routine is everything. It's actually not the swing. Routine is everything. The swing is just, 5% of the whole process of stepping up to address a ball. And he made this point I think he showed us in one of the videos, actually. He was like, if you're lined up or parallel to your target line from the ball, and you put both your feet square, and then say you move your left foot to open up your toe, that can actually bring your heel in, and then you're out of alignment straight away. And we wouldn't even notice this stuff. We'd think, oh yeah, I'm still aligned.
Yeah.
But because he's been down into these levels of all this stuff, that's the level of detail we're talking about. And it might only be half an inch or an inch, but that turn of your foot, and then if you checked your heels behind you, you'd be like, I'm out of alignment. I'm actually aiming right. So this mat helps you to get all those things right from from the width to the angle of your feet and everything else. So it's a super cool product. And that piece, we're going to do the introduction to the mat. We're going to do the fitting, and then testing, and then we'll do some one-to-one time showing players how to use it. And that mat's used in conjunction with a weighted club, which is a full-size 7-iron with a training grip on it that weighs about 1.3 kilograms. So it's a weighty thing. And his concept behind this is, you can use this club for 15, 20 minutes a day and just practice your swing. And it can be as beneficial as going to the range for, a 50-ball, 100-ball session when you come back to actually stepping up to hitting a golf ball, because it's building in muscle memory. Yeah. Plus the mat gets you in all of the correct setup positions. Yeah, wow. A very powerful training aid that we're developing for the players that come on the program, and they'll get both those things as part of the course itself.
What's interesting about that is that, like, we asked him to go, like, and he's been working on this mat himself, and this is a guy that plays off like +4 or 5 that's gone off and developed this thing from scratch. Imagine how solidly he must believe in that as a foundational building block for playing good golf. If he's willing to develop a product directly on that thing, So that's. I was watching.
He's had it for 3 years, so it's not only he developed it for himself. He's fitted his friends who are on, pro players as well, a couple of them, and then he's tested it for 3 years for himself. I guess the testing bit is, using it at home, maybe when you don't have a lot of time to go to the range, can it deliver similar results or better than going to the range? In once you know the correct, because it's not just the feet, it's also the pullback positions for your club. Yeah, it's got dots to the right of it that show you the points to hit on your backswing to get you into the best position possible to come back on your on your swing plane. Oh wow! And with a weighted club, that builds in all of the muscle memory into your body. So then do that for 15, 20 minutes a day over a week at home, just swinging, just feeling it, and you'd be amazed at how much players, like scratch players or better, spend time in a mirror just feeling the swing. And this thing is intended to build that in. And then you could walk straight out, warm up obviously, but walk straight out onto a golf course and feel that feel, because the weight of the club has started to build it into muscle memory, and you know exactly the points from this mat that you need to hit. So it's super. I can't wait to try it out.
100%. The other really interesting thing is, like, what emphasizes how important just setup is, that I watched a clip the other day of Xander explaining how he puts like a slight draw on the ball, mm-hmm. and it has nothing to do with swing. He literally just closes the feet. Yeah, he just moves his feet, and then so he obviously keeps his alignment exactly the same, and then he just moves his feet so that they're closed instead of open, mm-hmm. and then it's just the mental knowing that his feet are a tad closed. That's enough to put like 2 meters of deviation on the ball. Amazing. So insane, right? Yeah. So it's literally...
Yeah. We're going to cover all of that. I think it's in day 2. We go into shot shaping, or it might be on the end of this one on day 1, actually.
So that's the kind of first component. So it's like the mat set up. And obviously, so we're going to be testing putting stroke, chipping stroke, basically all parts of the game.
Yeah, we want to test the players. And then not that day. Well, again, this is the dry run schedule. The actual bootcamp schedule might be slightly different, but essentially we're leaning towards using the first day or 2 days actually for full training and getting people up to speed as quickly as possible across all these things, and then taking them out on the course. And the first course session will be a course assessment session. So we'll figure out exactly how that's going to work. But the assessment and analysis piece is important up front here on day one. So yeah, we're going to do course management, score. This is just day one. So course management and scoring, which we'll go into this presentation now. Head out onto the practice facility, do initial testing of players, just get a view on every part of their game. Do the mat fitting and get players using that, teach them how to use it. We break for lunch, and then in the afternoon we're doing full swing focus. So we'll be using the mat and remaining on the training facility and taking everybody through the full setup routine. So that's going to cover stretch and mat warm up, alignment work and routine, which also includes visualization, which is a big part of the presentation we're going to talk about. Swing analysis, that would be video recording, I think. Ideal swing projection, fundamentals, rhythm work, technical work, practice plan walkthrough, ball flight training and stock shots. So we're covering quite a broad spectrum in that session. That session's all afternoon, so that's about a 5-hour session, I think. And then we'll be done around 6 p.m. So that's what every day is going to kind of look like, that kind of structure.
And at the moment,
and then they, as
9 holes in there, did you say?
No, not anymore. We're doing full training session on that day.
Yes.
And there's a continuation of that into day 2, so people can see. We're then going to cover pitching and driver. So within a day and a half, we've gone through a pretty broad spectrum of the irons, driver, pitching, and then we'll take them out onto the course that afternoon and do the course assessment round, which will work out. So yeah, that's what day 1 looks like.
Awesome. So if we're to do a deep dive now into kind of course management as an idea, take us through what Jake's highlighted as the kind of the big ideas.
Yeah, very interesting. So this is his presentation, and it's called Scratch Scoring, and it's defined as the art of dropping your scores even before hitting a golf ball. So this is everything else that goes into golf without the swing itself. So I think in delivering this, we need to make sure that everything is focused on the players and personalized to them. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Understanding where they're at. So it will be a very interactive session. Questions anytime they want to get stuck in. We need to understand what they know and what they don't know quite quickly, and then tailor the content as we go to the wider audience, which is pretty normal in any presentation, right?
I think we'll find most people won't have anything in here. We're pretty technical.
Yeah.
And I still think that everything Jake's showing us is mind blowing. I struggle to believe that many people will go as far as this.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to.
And even if they do know, there's going to be 3 other levels deeper we can go into that thing.
Yeah, and then there's going to be ways that he can articulate it that get people to think completely different about it as well. So,
and I think that's really important that we show, don't tell. And if we do that through video of Jake showing them the due care and attention that he takes to set up to the golf ball, so that they can actually see it. Because once you see these things, you can't unsee them, right? I might think that I set up to the golf ball with quite a lot of intent. But then when I saw Jake setting up to the golf ball and lining himself up and getting his alignment right and preparing his routine, I was like, oh my God, I'm 20% of what he's doing.
Yeah, really.
And then I started to take a lot more due care and attention. One of the good ones actually was, he said, I never step up to the ball and align myself with the club held below me.
Yeah.
Because that can pull you forwards and take you out of alignment straight away. And I realized that's what I was doing. And coming in with the club's got a weight to it, so it kind of brings you forwards a bit. I had all my weight on my toes, which is not great for a stable golf swing. And then I started really practicing to find the weight in the middle of my foot to the heels or whatever to get that balance back. So it's little things like that, and we can obviously go as deep as we need to with any player. We just need to be able to understand where they're at so that we can.
So what did you notice? Take us through what you remember about his setup and his routine. What kind of things?
Yeah, this is the reason that Pro Tour rounds take so long. It's not the swings, and it's not the number of players. It's the amount of time they take. So the first thing is, I guess as they're walking up to the ball, they're already making all of these, assessments and decisions. He's looking at the lie a lot. It's the first thing, because the lie affects the ball in so many ways.
Yeah.
So he's also making decisions about all the environmental factors, the wind, the lie, is he on a down slope, up slope, all of that kind of stuff. And then once he's kind of assessed all of that and made his decision, he'll stand behind the ball. I think usually they'll do their practice swing behind the ball just to get the body moving and feel it out. And then they'll pick a spot in front of the ball, maybe 6 to 12 inches, like a marker on the grass that lines up with their target to the pin, which is not unusual. I've always done that. But then when he steps up to the ball, everything is about balance from what I can see. It's just finding the balance and finding his foundation or default swing, so that's the thing that he's doing every single time, whether it's a pitch, an iron, a driver, or a putter. It doesn't matter. The setup and the routine is exactly the same. And I think one of the reasons for that, the obvious ones, is if you're changing that every single time, there's no way to diagnose what you're doing. Like if every time you're not setting up in exactly the same way to the golf ball, then you're introducing another variable, right, that can introduce something potentially negative into your swing. And then, I mean, the actual shot and swing piece of it is the quickest part. Everything is just making sure he's got his alignment right, everything's set up in the right place, he's got his grip. So he'll walk up to the golf ball, with his club pointing upwards to the sky, making sure he's got his grip right, and then he'll find his feet, and then he's kind of double, the term is patting his feet, to find really trying to find his weight, his balance, his center of gravity. Yeah. So that when he makes that rotation back and he comes back through, no part of his feet or the foundation in his legs and his hips are out of balance that would put the swing off, because you put it off by, quarter of an inch, half an inch, well, the ball's has more chance of going in a direction that you didn't intend. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see. And then when we were in Vietnam last time, we watched it was the BRG Legends Open. So we watched a lot of the pro players, and every one of them was the same, exactly the same. That level of detail and due care and attention into their setups.
It's funny you don't see it on TV because they don't have time.
No,
to show
exactly.
That,
yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, so that's going to be really interesting. I think it's something a lot of people, and this is probably something that we've got as like a little bit of an uphill battle, is it takes a lot more mental processing work to keep to the same routine every hole and stay focused. Because like we played at New Kuta last week, and I got to the end of the game, I'm like, I didn't even go through a routine. I was just hopping up behind the ball. Yeah,
kind of being led by the game rather than leading it.
So then we've got that. So we've got set up, but then obviously we'll start going through his understanding of like course management. He's going to be taking us through an app that he uses to scope out the course before you even get there.
Yeah, there's a program that comes a bit later, but there's a program called Pro Visualizer he uses to, we call it, in the program we're calling it course assessment. So before we play any course, and all of these courses nobody will have played before, we're going to teach them how to assess that course. Again, shortest time possible, but credibly, which is what I did with New Kuta last week. I did it on Google Maps. I know, Google Earth with the yardage measure. I was trying to map out, where are my landing areas, and kind of started doing it myself in the way that I did it. And I thought, I'll ask Jake how he, show me how he does it. And it was like 10 times more, technical and accurate. And I was like, wow, okay. And he's like, this is what we're going to teach them, how to consider all of these distances, widest landing area on a fairway, risk coming into a green. Bunkers are usually at the front. Do you want to be short? If you miss hit slightly, you're usually short. Would you rather be long and have a 20-foot putt back or a chip back onto the green versus being in the bunker? So making all these considerations, but having a plan before you go out there, super important. Yeah, really, really important.
And then from when to put the driver away on particular holes and go,
absolutely.
Okay, what? Because obviously, and that's probably something we'll ask people to bring with them, or we can determine for people in the camp is what their actual carry distances are for. Yep. For because obviously that's that's what you're using the GPS with in conjunction with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Understanding of
Yeah, so we're
charges.
making all your assumptions on, I guess. Yeah. So you kind of need to know that. When I was doing that exercise, and we're going to take everybody on the program through this exercise and learn it, and we'll do it. We're playing 4 different courses, so we'll do it 4 times for each different course. And obviously, the first time we play each one, we'll have never played it before.
That by itself is really exciting
yeah,
to me.
and then you need to go at the end. You're going to have a look and be like, did I make the right assumptions?
Yeah.
And I found when I was doing it, what's my assumption around my driver carry distance? I was like, well, I'm not 100% sure on that, because I train on the range a lot with range balls. I get a different distance.
Yes, which for people that haven't hit a Balinese range ball, it
Been out in the jungle.
can go from 280 yards carry to 100.
Yeah.
And it could go left to right, like 80 meters. Like some of them
exactly.
So
I might do better to go on a sim and try and work that out and get more accurate readings on that for me.
Yeah.
But I think dispersion's probably more important there. What's your dispersion with driver, which is how far right or how far left within a sort of circle.
Yeah.
You tend to hit it out of 10 balls or, whatever it is. Understanding that, because that's usually where your risk is off the tee, right or left.
So obviously Jake would know his averaged or his total dispersions. Is that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
With every club.
Yeah. And then by the sound of it, and we were watching a YouTube video the other day about a guy that got down to scratch, and he was talking about the fact that his dispersion of his 3 hybrid was like half of his driver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only, what was it? I think he could carry it 230. He could carry his driver 260. So he was losing 30 yards off the tee, but also halving his average dispersion.
Yeah.
Which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Which makes Bali's, where we play weekly, it's pretty short. And like you chalked it up the other day, and I kind of looked at the first 5 or 6 holes. We're taking driver in a lot of situations that probably Jake is going to highlight that's a 3 hybrid.
You just don't need to.
Yeah.
It's just not worth the risk reward, But it's also an ego thing. It's like, this is some of the stuff we're going to have to try and elicit change in players as well, which is like, you don't have to go big every time. And again, we're talking about scoring here, right? You can be a swinger. Go and be a swinger. Cool. Go have fun. Go smash it. But if you want to score, and we talked about this last week, if you want to be able to turn the scoring on at any point in time and come away from that round being like, yeah, I put a really great score in today, I'm really happy with it, versus, oh, I'm so frustrated. I was just swinging and, didn't necessarily have the control. Scratch is a game of scoring.
Yeah.
A game of chess. It's not full throttle, at every turn. And a lot of those holes that you're talking about, we could both easily hit an iron and just have 140 yards in, probably, maybe a 9 iron. And then what's your dispersion with a 9 iron, or what's your, shot accuracy with a 9 iron? Well, we'd probably be on the green at least 50%.
Yeah.
Maybe less. I can't remember what the pro stat is. It's in here somewhere, actually. But yeah, from 150 yards out, I think they land on the green somewhere like 50% of the time.
Yeah.
So, but then what's that consideration? And yeah, it's reframing golf to the scoring. It's reframing it to the scoring, because that is the game. The game is the best score, not the best swing, not the longest drive.
Yeah.
Not the big guns. Let's go. Just hit an amazing drive. It's not that. It's not that. If you want to be a good player, if you want to be a scoring player, I think we have to reframe that for people.
That was there's a really good book called I think it's The 4 Foundations of Golf, or the Foundations of Golf. I think I gave you the link to it. But he just highlights statistically what the pros and like what a scratch golfer do from like a putting percentage and a fairway and reg percentage. And you realize like even pros are not that dissimilar to like a 5 handicap golfer until it gets to up and downs and putting. Mm-hmm. And then they're just like, they're aliens in comparison. But so then we're obviously going to go through, like, when it comes to course strategy, like what did Jake shed any light? And we'll probably ask him a heap of questions on this. But like when it comes to hitting greens, like is he predominantly just trying to hit the center of a green like most of the time? Is there par fives where he's hit? Because I can imagine a lot of pros are like even a good pro like a 3 under is probably a good score for a pro, right? Consistently over every day. So I can imagine you're trying to do most of your damage in par fives. You're trying to par threes.
Yeah.
You're probably hoping to get a couple of good looks in on a few par fours, but you're really...
I'd say par fours. I would think there's more par fours on the course.
Yeah.
And if you're hitting, for them, well, the course obviously gets extended for them, but if you're hitting driver and mid to low iron wedge in, then you should be landing, statistically, they should be, having putts within 15 feet for birdie, maybe, and then par fives at the top as well. But I think there's more par fours on the course.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we can talk about Jake's, assess how he assesses golf greens and risk. And the answer is it depends, because every green is slightly different. But fundamentally, yeah, he's always aiming for the middle, but he's also assessing the undulations of that green and how it's all laid out and where the risk is and where he wants to be, where he wants his second shot to be. Does he want to be down the hill? Does he want to be up the hill? And putting all those calculations in. So
yeah,
it's quite a lot to it. But fundamentally, I think everybody says pros aiming for the middle of the green unless there's a really good reason not to.
Yeah. And then on top of that is a couple of the YouTubes we've watched of late for people that have really reduced their scoring is like lag putting and the importance of it's relatively easy to kind of get the line right. The hard part and the damaging part is how far you go past or how short you pull up.
Yeah.
So we're obviously going to cover a heap of detail on that because that's seems to be where most people bleed.
Yeah,
is
distance control. Yeah, 100%. And we'll find ways to measure that for players as well. All of this, we need to be able to measure and give them a system to measure reducing issues off the tee, whether that's an out of bounds, taking too much risk with a driver, whether that's hitting behind a tree. Because if they're behind a tree, it's almost the same as out of bounds because you don't have a second shot into the green. So if you were stood on the tee and your only consideration was, how do I make sure I have a second shot into the green? Because that gives me the best chance of a par, or maybe better. Then you'd probably make different choices a lot of the time. This is what we're just learning as well, right? It's like, okay, I'll probably make a different choice because I need to make sure that second shot gives me a chance to get onto the green. And then once I'm on the green, I can 2-putt. That's the goal for par, which is a lag putt, put it within 5 feet, and then get good at making those short putts as well. And we don't think about it like that because I don't think we're thinking that far ahead. I don't anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I just need to try and keep this ball in play. That's probably as far as I get. Whereas if I was like, okay, if I take driver here and I mishit it or my dispersion range is going to put me out of bounds, and I don't get a second shot in, well, then I should change my club. That's how I should be thinking. I'm only just learning this now.
Yeah. Because
I'm not 3 steps ahead in the process, which is what you should be. You should almost be working back from the green.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the funny thing is it seems like statistically you're better off hitting a 3 hybrid and having a 5 iron in, but being guaranteed you'll hit a 5 iron in than like a 20% chance that you go out of bounds trying to get yourself to a 9 iron in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's kind of a lot of what we're doing is nobody in the marketplace is presenting the complete operating system for how to shoot. Everybody's focusing on one aspect of it, but the only thing that gives any of it relevance is how it all adds up to you getting better holistically.
Yeah.
So don't you think, if you think about the marketplace is just everybody's selling metaphorically, if we use cars as the analogy, most pros are just selling the performance of the wheels and the engine,
Yeah.
and then somebody else is
That's
selling
good
the
way to put it.
spoiler, and then somebody else is selling the gearbox. The only thing that matters is how it all comes together.
Absolutely.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that word holistic is the thing that we're discovering in all of this. And you're right. It's like everybody out there is just selling the car parts. Have a bit of this, have a bit of that, have a bit of this, but not the whole vehicle,
Yeah.
which is what you need. And it's not just the vehicle. If you use the fuel as the analogy, the vehicle can be the swing, and the fuel can be all of the knowledge and risk management, course management, all the strategy and thinking that goes with it, which is one thing I'm discovering how huge that is. It's almost bigger than the swing, actually.
Yeah.
If you listen to guys like Bob Rotella, who's a golf mental coach, amazing guy, he's like, when you're about to hit the ball, I don't want you thinking about anything, pretty much. I just want you to visualize where you think that ball's going to go, because that's going to help your body do what you have in your mind, and just hit it and let it go. It's the more technical and the more thinking and the more strategy you get, the more analytical you are.
Yeah.
The less chance you've got of hitting a good shot. And that was his conclusion working with professionals. I
was gonna bring up like what would be a good question to you.
So sorry, the point of that is not just the swing.
Yeah.
It's not the swing.
Yeah.
Everything else. The swing is actually like a really small portion of it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's kind of the point, and it'd be interesting. Like, we obviously played at New Kuta, which is a beautiful golf course here in Bali, last week. We're going to go back to Bali National on Thursday. I haven't booked it yet. Well, what did you notice from your game that you're going to improve on for this week? And I'll take you through what I noticed from mine.
Yeah. Okay. I guess the big one was it was only a par 4, and it was wide open. I'll just give one example. It's a par 4 with a wide open fairway, but on the right hand side is out of bounds. Didn't really consider the out of bounds on the right. Just saw all this space to hit into, and then when I stepped up, and I'm going to take driver because there's so much space up there for my driver dispersion.
Is that the one we both went right on?
Yeah, I think so. And then, because I'm thinking,
that tree.
I've got loads of space, and I've got, and then I can have not a 7 iron in, maybe I can have an 8 iron into the green. Then everything just sped up. I really swung at the ball, and then did my classic, brought my shoulder in too early and kind of sliced through it, and it spun out to the right and went out of bounds. And I think that was not following my process. I haven't, obviously been through the training with Jake yet to really instill that process, but I've been taking more due care and attention on my process, on my rhythm, on my speed. And I think maybe too much adrenaline, got too excited, and you don't think about all these factors. When you're stood on the tee, it's like, oh, loads of space. Suddenly your body's heightened and excited and by pumping adrenaline. And then I just swung too fast and sliced it. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'd just taken the lead that on the previous hole, and then it was all downhill from there. So that was one thing I noticed I'm becoming a lot more aware of. And that's talked about a lot in this when we get onto the other slides, but the importance of keeping calm, the importance of the routine and setup to the ball being the same every single time, breathing, keeping your nervous system calm, keeping your adrenaline down, because it all affects what you're intending to step up and do.
Yeah.
And also on that round, I'd planned the whole course out. It was all new to me. I was trying to keep track of it and play it a little bit more from a course management perspective with the stuff that I've been learning already.
Yeah.
And felt like I made more mistakes than I usually would.
Yeah.
But I think that's just part of the learning process.
It's making me realize where, from a content standpoint, I think our content's really going to take off the minute that we do the boot camp.
Yeah.
We come back with what we're applying, and then we document. We'll have to record every game.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And
I mean, what a journey to see.
And then what we can do is then we're reviewing how we're going in relation to the boot camp and the ongoing training.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes insanely interesting. But the big thing that I noticed is, what I've got here is I lost three putts. I'm generally pretty good putting, but I got penalized 10 times for putting the ball out of play.
Yeah.
And just hitting driver. So like, not that I'm going to focus on that, but I'm purely just going to focus on the visualization of just putting the ball exactly where I want and not technically having a swing thought at all.
Yeah. Or just visualizing where you want the ball to go and that being your swing thought.
Yeah.
Seeing it flying off the club, what shape it is, where it's going to land, where it's going to roll. I mean, that's Bob Rotella's recommendation, the conclusion he's come to after 30 years in the game. Don't have anything else in your mind. Let your body do it. But then to let your body do it, that's where you need the routines and it to be instilled in you.
If we've only got like 5 to 10, like
we haven't even got through the first slide.
Oh, really?
Let me just go through the contents really quick because we've ended up kind of talking around a lot of this stuff. But in this presentation, we're covering the foundations of golf scoring. We're covering alter ego, your routine, course analysis, mental game, decision making, pre-round warm-ups, staying in the present, and then practical applications of all of these things. And then for our players attending the bootcamp, we'll do exercises and Q&As. But there's so much good stuff in there. And one of the things I thought was really interesting and I can share a story about was the alter ego in this. I'll just go through that quickly.
And just quickly, like looking at that list, it's awesome. They all kind of warrant their own episode, to be honest. I find we can't
got stuck on the intro page.
Because we're still covering it out. But I think
maybe we need to go for 2 hours.
Each of those topics, I think what we've learned here is alter ego is a technology, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's just give them their own episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And alter ego, in summary, is unlocking your best performance on the course. The concept of an alter ego in golf is a powerful mental strategy that allows you to step out of your everyday mindset and embody a version of yourself that performs at the highest level. Your alter ego is a mental persona you adopt during a round of golf. It's a version of you or someone you admire that is calm, focused, and confident under pressure. By assuming this role, you leave behind your casual self and embrace the mindset needed to perform at your best. I think all that's pretty clear. I was trying to think of like an analogy for this, and I used to work in a corporation, and we would have, Monday to Thursday, everybody was in shirts and ties, and that brought a level of formality into the office and intentionality. And then on Friday, it would be dress down day, and everybody would turn up in sneakers and t-shirts, and the air was very very loose. It was a Friday as well, of course. But when you come to the golf course to perform and to score, if that's your goal, and to play well that day, which one do you want? And I think that's quite a good analogy. Do you want to be the Friday loose kid? Just, I'm joking, laughing. I always have a joke and a laugh, but I mean, like, you kind of need to come with that intentionality that a suit and tie was designed to do.
State is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's quite good. We can go into that a bit more detail. I think we're coming up to time, but we can go into that in a bit more detail. And everything
the
else.
The interesting thing about that is like I always play way better when I'm playing with a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Why? Because the way they're behaving rubs off on you.
Exactly.
Like the way that they approach everything and the level of seriousness. So
well, I actually tried this at Kuta. Like, I didn't mention it, but I was like, who do I want to channel? And I was like, well, I would quite like to, embody Michael Jordan for his competitiveness, not just for his competitiveness, but for his competitive ability to deliver in the difficult moments. Because I always find that I flop or self-sabotage in those moments. I'm like, I just need to put this, 3-putt putt in another one. And I'm like, I missed it again. So I was like, for him being able to close out those moments. And then Ludwig Orberg, I really like, just because he's very calm. And also his routine, he gets his routine in. And there's no messing around with the swing. As soon as he addresses the ball, he goes. And he's fully committed and fully confident. Yeah. No holding back, and whatever happens after that happens, And I think that did help me because I held that through most of the round. Obviously lost concentration and focus at certain points. But that actually really helped me to kind of, I guess you're just giving yourself a context, and what's the best way to embody a context? Maybe have it as a persona or alter ego in this case. And what's your context for this round of golf? I lose focus a lot, so I need to find something that helps me to concentrate over a 4.5 hour period. And the other elements I just mentioned.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, I think like we can even have another complete episode on each of these things, especially after we sit with Jake and he kind of takes us through.
And of course, we haven't mentioned this, but Jake's going to come and join us at some point. Maybe we do a session in Vietnam or whatever. We'll get him on with us in the future, and he can start to talk about some of this stuff himself as well. But yeah, I mean, there's gold in all of this, and I'm learning so much already, just from understanding the concepts and playing with them and taking them out on the course. And when players come and join us on the boot camp, that's what I was talking about. We're going to teach them all these things and then take them out on the course and give them that support and guidance when they're out playing, and see what comes up for them and how we address those issues as well.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think next week we're going to give people a taste of like how we go about the game, and we're going to record it, which will be interesting. And then I think what we can do is
we're going to record ourselves playing.
Yeah.
Next week we say,
next week.
Yeah, perfect.
And then we'll just kind of go through what we learned watching through the footage of what we need to improve on. And
I've never recorded a round of myself out on a course, so that'll be really interesting.
Yeah,
to see what happens and be able to remember it all in those moments and be like, well, what actually happened?
Yeah,
when you sliced it 40 yards out of bounds.
Yeah, totally.
What was going through your head?
And to actually see, see if like, oh man, I didn't set up correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and like I didn't go through the routine there at all. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that example that I gave you, I'd love to see the footage of that. What did I actually do?
Yeah.
Because I was a bit checked out. I think maybe the adrenaline and the whatever, just going for it mentality.
And we both absolutely butchered our shot from where we dropped as well. You hit the tree.
I put it out of bounds again.
Yeah.
I hit the tree and went out of bounds.
And then I saw you hit the tree, and then I missed the tree by 20 meters and ended up way down the bottom.
This is the stuff we want to show our viewers, though. Being like, this stuff happens to us, of course, and this is what we want to get better at.
Well, what's interesting is I really like those the Bryan brothers.
Yeah,
and what's amazing is seeing how incredibly like Wes scrambles. It's just amazing. Like the guy is actually pretty bad off the tee, but he makes par every hole.
Yeah, incredible.
It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah,
like
always gets himself back in play.
But cool. Well,
awesome. Yeah, great fun, and we can just continue where we left off next week. I think we'll
that's a good idea.
More of these concepts.
Yeah,
because there's so much gold in here. It's a really good presentation so far, and it's just the beginning. So we look forward to covering it all next week.
Bang, and then back to Bali National this week. And the week after. Can't wait. And then the week after, I think we play twice, maybe.
Yeah. Let's do
it. To film it, because I think it's just easier to do it twice.
Yeah, the idea of that, we need to get it on record, basically, because we've never done it. So get our game on record,
and then
because it will help to tell.
Let's prove to people that we're shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so that they can see, okay, these guys actually,
or with the guinea pigs, right?
So, so that there's no like. Hey, these guys will always scratch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, far from it.
Yeah, so awesome.
We get to share that journey, which will be great.
Awesome.
All right,
till next
good
week.
stuff. Next week.
Bye.
Look forward to it.